Another round of layoffs at a tech company, more stories talking about it, but not really explaining why it's happening. And another day of me bumbling through a topic that I don't understand enough, but I still want to talk about. Let's get into it. Okay, so what I'm referring to is Microsoft is reportedly going to do another round of layoffs next week. I'm recording this on June 24th of 2025. This is an article from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg stating that Xbox specifically will be part of this layoffs round at Microsoft, and that all departments could be involved. The convenient timing, very good timing on his article, right as Xbox announces some hardware or a collaboration with Meta for a VR headset that will be a limited edition with some Xbox integrations. This is an interesting story. I'm not here to defend layoffs. I'm not here to defend the pretty gross way that employees and developers and people in general are treated in the games industry. What I'm here to talk about is how desperately we need some of these journalists, whether it's Jason Schreier or other people, to actually do a deep dive on these subjects and not just there's layoffs, here's their financials, here's some kind of quippy hot takes or kind of smirking remarks towards things that are going on. I don't even really want to talk about, at least in this video, about how so clearly some of the platforms get treated differently with these kind of announcements than others. What I do want to talk about more is just how people, including myself, never really understand what's going on here. So when I saw, I forget whoever it was I saw on social media who posted about this. I believe it was Shinobi. All the comments. It's always the same comments. It's always, "Oh, I thought Microsoft was doing well financially. Oh, Phil Spencer needs to be fired for this. Oh, blah blah blah." And it exposes a fundamental and complete, in my opinion, lack of understanding of why layoffs happen in big companies. This isn't reserved to Xbox. This isn't reserved to Microsoft. PlayStation has had these layoffs too. I don't think Nintendo has. They run like a 25% profit margin all the time, so they don't need to do this. They also don't like aggressively expand either. They keep things pretty tight over there. One thing when I was doing some research for this, noticing that Nintendo has a $115 billion market cap, which is almost the same as Sony, with only about 8,000 employees. Compare that to Sony, who has around 113,000 employees and a $148 billion market cap. That's insane. Nintendo is such a wild outside worker in this industry. And for food for thought, Microsoft is a $3.62 trillion market cap company with 230,000 employees, making them market cap wise 24 times larger than Sony and 31 times larger than Nintendo. I don't know how much that factors in here when we're just talking about why layoffs happen. I do think it's worth considering that when Microsoft does layoffs, it's just a different beast than if PlayStation does it or if Nintendo happened to. PlayStation, shuts down studios and cancels games and does layoffs in their studios for more direct reasons. It's a smaller company. It's PlayStation specifically, if you ever look, I don't know what the exact employment numbers are, but I imagine after all the acquisitions, Microsoft is way bigger at this point. And again, it doesn't excuse the layoffs. It's just, this isn't new to the tech industry. It happens every day. This isn't new to corporate America, at least, as I'm familiar with, right? I even worked in the corporate world for a while, and it's pretty ruthless. And the thing I learned, and which has been exposed and shown repeatedly, time over time, in the games industry as well, is that layoffs don't mean you're doing bad. Layoffs are often because of projections and productivity. And I'm sure some of the Microsoft, especially the Xbox layoffs, are continuation of their integration of they're still integrating Bethesda ZeniMax into their family, right? It's probably pretty much done at this point. But Activision Blizzard King, they're maybe not even halfway done integrating that company into Xbox. The thing you have to consider, again, this isn't a defense, it's just a reality. when they purchased ABK and Bethesda ZeniMax, and they brought them into the fold, Activision Blizzard King was their own publisher, and so is Bethesda ZeniMax. And so that means, because Xbox is also a publisher, when these companies are all coming together, there's just a lot of crossover, right? There's just a lot of people doing the same job. And as great as it would be to keep everyone on their own jobs and run these three companies, these three groups as their own companies, it's just not realistic. It's not the way things work. You're talking about corporations. They will extract every dollar out of their product that they can. And whether it's brutal or whether it's, whatever it is, it's just the reality. I don't like it. I wish it was, I wish these companies were willing to take less money and treat people better and treat consumers better and all that. And hopefully in the long run, we work towards a world that is that way. That is not the situation we're in. These layoffs don't make Xbox or Microsoft or anyone evil. They're just making moves. It sucks. There are these faceless corporations and people toiling in the background making these calls. It's awful. It sucks, but it's the way it is. And every time this happens, it's so frustrating because it's people, you see these journalists and these influencers and content creators and the fanboys and console war people and stuff online do this whole this flabbergasted, oh, I can't believe there's been layoffs. Layoffs? What's a layoff? This must be the first time this has ever happened, even though it happens with every single company every few months. And no one ever tries to understand why. No one, you can not like it. You can be upset about it, but still understand why it's happening. That's so essential. And I understand the average day-to-day person doesn't care about this stuff the way someone like me or other people do who are more locked in, right? But that doesn't change. And then you have people taking advantage of that, whether it's journalists or content creators or influencers or whatever, and stoking up those things oh man, this is insane. Like I said before, the commentary about oh, I thought Xbox was doing well, all that stuff. These companies, they games that are doing well have studios that lay people off anyways, right? It's not that crazy. It's not that surprising at this point, right? Marvel Rivals in the middle of their jump, and they laid off a whole studio that was in the United States. It was a little satellite studio. It wasn't their main development studio or anything. But even then, if you look at it, why would that game was making more money than it's ever made. They were looking ahead. And it's gross and it sucks and it's numbers based and it makes people numbers and they just get rid of them. I'm not defending the practice, but we have to stop, at least in my opinion, we have to stop doing this thing where we throw our hands up and act surprised every time this happens. And I really wish that the games media industry, every part of it, the big podcasters, the IGNs, the Jason Schreiers, I really challenge them to actually explain why these things are happening and to not just always play on people's emotions and their outrage and things like that. Because when we start to understand why these things are happening, we can more, appropriately make financial decisions with who we buy games from and understand why these things are happening, and to try to be just better consumers and better parts of the gaming community. I don't know if I said anything. Let me know if you agree or disagree, or if you have points that maybe I didn't bring up that maybe will educate me better and anyone else who reads your comment. I genuinely would appreciate it. If you want more gaming coverage and videos about this kind of stuff, or Mass Effect or The Division or Xbox or whatever I decide to cover on a given day, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button so more people see the video, and consider becoming a YouTube member if you want to support the things I'm doing. Get these videos a little bit early, and if you want to see the other things I do and support in other ways, check out the links in the video description. That is all I have for this one, so until next time.